Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're your shortcut through, well, the whirlwind of cloud technology updates. Today, we are digging into the latest from Azure, specifically what came out between July 22nd and July 25th, 2025. Our goal really is to pull out the key things you, as a technical pro, need to know, keep you informed, help you see what these changes mean now without wading through everything yourself.
Yeah, and that's so important. The speed of cloud innovation is just relentless, isn't it? These weekly updates, they might seem small sometimes, but often they're foundational. They're key for keeping your cloud setup efficient, secure, and scalable. Knowing the real impact can really give you an edge in your planning, your strategy. So yeah, this deep dive is about getting you straight to what matters from this week in Azure and how it might actually affect your day-to-day.
Absolutely. Okay, let's jump right in then. First up, something interesting in the governance space. Modernizing Azure Resource Manager throttling for sovereign clouds. This one's in public preview. It builds on something from last year, 2024. And the aim is parity, right? Getting public and sovereign cloud throttling to behave the same way. Why is that specific alignment such a big deal?
Oh, it's definitely a big deal. It's foundational, really. Especially if you're a large company where you operate in those, regulated sovereign clouds, Azure Government, Azure China. Before, you might hit different API limits, different throttling behaviors between, say, Azure Public and Azure Government. It could be subtle, but tricky. So this push for standardization, aiming for completion by the end of 2026, means you'll eventually get much more predictable, consistent management. Automation becomes smoother.
Okay, consistency. I can see that.
Yeah, think about it. You're trying to deploy stuff at scale, maybe with automation scripts or CI/CD pipelines, and suddenly they behave differently just because of the type of cloud environment. That's a nightmare. Different throttling can break things unpredictably. This update starts to smooth out that friction. It means you don't need separate, complex ways to manage things just based on the region type. It shows Azure is serious about unifying the experience globally. So you can build one automation framework that just works, scales predictably wherever you deploy in Azure. For any big multinational or anyone dealing with strict data rules, this is, it's a significant step forward for simplifying things. It falls under management and governance, naturally.
Right. I can definitely imagine the headaches inconsistent throttling would cause for global automation. Predictability there sounds incredibly valuable. Okay, so for managing resources, let's pivot to using data. Next up, something now generally available, search job enhancements in log analytics. So a search job, for anyone maybe not familiar, is like an offline asynchronous query, right? Runs on your log analytics data, even the long-term stuff. What's new here? What's the enhancement?
What's really quite cool here and game-changing in a way is how you use the results. The big improvement is that the results from your search job, they now land in a new analytics table right there in your workspace.
Oh, interesting. So not just a results file, but an actual table.
Exactly, first-class table. Yep. So you run this potentially massive query over maybe years of data, and the output isn't just static, it's alive. You can query that results table again. You can join it with other data. You can build dashboards off it.
Oh, okay. I see.
That makes deep historical analysis, or maybe forensic investigations, or complex compliance reporting much, much easier. Before, you might have had to export data, process it elsewhere. Could be clunky. Now, the results are right there, ready for more queries. You can iterate on your analysis without rescanning all the raw data every time. You can join it with current operational data. Build specific views without hitting the performance of your live monitoring dashboards. It's a huge win for DevOps teams, security ops, anyone digging deep into logs. It's under management and governance, and Azure Monitor really enables that iterative exploration.
That makes perfect sense. Being able to query the results without rerunning the whole thing. Huge for deep dives or troubleshooting without slowing down live systems. Okay, let's shift again. Kubernetes networking, always a hot topic. Our third update, also hitting GA, Azure CNI static block allocation for pod subnet and AKS. We know AKS users are often, juggling simplicity, security, scalability with their network setups. How does this feature help with that balancing act?
Right, this one tackles a really common pain point, especially in bigger AKS deployments. Managing IP addresses efficiently. Before this, IP allocation for pods could get really complex. You could run out of IPs or just use your address space inefficiently, particularly as clusters scale up or nodes get added and removed. It was tricky.
Yeah, IP exhaustion is never fun.
Exactly. So with static block allocation, what happens is instead of handing out individual IPs one by one as pods spin up, Azure CNI reserves a whole block of IPs up front and assigns it to each node in your cluster.
A block per node. Got it.
Yeah. And that makes network planning much, much simpler. It's critical if you're running large clusters or maybe multi-tenant setups where IP sprawl was, frankly, a major headache.
Yeah.
It also helps with security, potentially. You can set up more granular network policies targeting these known blocks. And importantly, it cuts down the management overhead. The whole IP lifecycle within the cluster just becomes cleaner, more predictable.
Yeah.
So you see tags like compute, containers, networking, virtual network. It touches a lot of core infrastructure pieces.
I can almost hear the collective sigh of relief from network admins managing big AKS clusters. Sounds like a really practical improvement. Okay, sticking with log analytics for a moment, but focusing on cost. Another GA update, log analytics summary rules. These are for summarizing high-volume data streams, right? Tell us how these rules help manage log costs while still getting value.
Yeah, this one really hits on a core challenge. Log volumes are exploding, and so are the costs. How do you manage that without losing the insights? Summary rules are a pretty smart answer. They let you basically aggregate your raw log data into summarized views. And this works across different data plans, analytics, basic, or even auxiliary storage.
So you condense the data.
Precisely. The big implication is cost optimization, especially for those really chatty logs. You can set it up so you keep the super detailed raw logs for maybe a short period, for immediate troubleshooting, days, maybe weeks. But then you automatically roll that up into summarized data, which you can keep for much longer months, years, at a way lower cost. You're cutting down massively on the expensive raw storage for long-term retention, but you still have data for trend analysis, for long-term reporting, for compliance checks, just based on the summary. It's about getting the insights without drowning in storage costs. Smart management, again, relevant for DevOps, management and governance, Azure Monitor.
Cost optimization without sacrificing analysis, always a welcome combination. Definitely sounds useful. Okay, let's move to security, specifically for high-performance computing. Another GA update. Azure Managed Lustre now supports VNet encryption for in-transit data protection. Why is this specific encryption feature so important for Azure Managed Lustre users?
Well, Azure Managed Lustre itself is pretty specialized, right? It's a high-performance file system. Think big AML training jobs, scientific computing, huge data sets. In those scenarios, the data is often sensitive, and it's moving around at incredibly high speeds between the storage and the compute nodes. This update adds a critical layer of security and compliance. With VNet encryption enabled, the data moving between the Managed Lustre file system and your client VMs within your own virtual network is automatically encrypted while it's in transit. This is absolutely vital if you're handling sensitive stuff, maybe health data for research, financial modeling data, anything needing confidentiality. It directly helps meet compliance needs like IPEA or GDPR, because the data is protected even as it flies across your internal network. Before, you might have relied on encryption at rest, or maybe application-level encryption, but this adds protection for the data while it's moving inside the VNet. It's a key security boost for storage and Azure Managed Lustre, where you need both that extreme performance and strong data protection.
That makes a lot of sense. Protecting that high-speed data flow internally is crucial for compliance in those demanding fields. Okay, final update for this roundup. This one's in public preview and seems quite significant for the container world. Web Application Firewall, a WF, running on Application Gateway for Containers. Now, Application Gateway for Containers, that's the Layer 7 load balancer Azure built specifically for Kubernetes, right, for traffic management into your cluster. So what's the big win putting WEF right onto that?
The immediate win is simplification and integration. You get that critical web application security layer, the WAF, protecting against common web attacks, but it's built directly into your ingress path for Kubernetes. You don't need a separate WAF appliance or service deployed and configured independently. It becomes part of your application gateway for container setup.
So security right at the front door for your containers.
Exactly. Right at the application layer. This traffic comes in. It means your modern microservices, your apps running in AKS, get protected against things like SQL injection, cross-site scripting, the OWASP top 10 usual suspects. And that protection is applied by the gateway managing traffic into your cluster. It streamlines things, consolidates networking and security for your cloud-native apps, makes achieving a consistent, robust security posture easier. It's a powerful way to protect those containerized applications right where they meet the network. So yeah, relevant across networking, security, compute, containers, and specifically touches Application Gateway, AKS, and Web Application Firewall.
Wow. Okay, that's quite a range of updates this week. We've gone from resource manager throttling in sovereign clouds to smarter log analytics with queryable results and cost-saving summaries, better IP management in AKS, vital encryption for Managed Lustre, and now encrypted way for container gateways. It really does feel like a continuous refinement across the board, especially hitting those enterprise needs for management, security, and modern apps.
You're absolutely right. And if you step back and look at the pattern, these updates, focusing on security, on better management, on containerization, it really shows how cloud platforms are maturing, right? It's not just about adding shiny new toys anymore. It's about making the existing tools more robust, more cost-effective, more secure for complex, real-world enterprise use cases. So I definitely encourage you, the listener, to check out the reference links we'll provide. Dig deeper into anything that caught your eye. Think about how these changes, maybe the static IP blocks for AKS or the log analytics summaries, might impact your cloud strategy, your deployments. How can they help you build things that are more resilient, more compliant, more efficient? The cloud is this constantly evolving toolkit. Staying engaged, adapting, that's how you really unlock its potential.